Hey girl, hey, welcome back to the Organic Marketing Simplified podcast. Today, we are going to talk about what to do when you're showing up consistently and not seeing results. Because I know something about you, Boom. I know that you have bought the courses. I know that you're reading all the books, you're listening to all the podcasts. YouTube is in there somewhere. Like I know you're doing all the things and like you're following the things that you're hearing to a T and you're still not seeing the results. So what gives, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. What to do if you're showing up consistently and not seeing the results. So I think it's very important to understand that like posting content, it's not the same thing as marketing, right? So you may think like, oh man, I'm being super consistent. I am showing up on the social medias of the world. I am posting my podcast consistently, but I'm not seeing results. But posting in and of itself, that's not marketing. So let's break that down a little bit. A lot of times I find that the first thing that people are doing is that they're caught up in following a formula or following a template of some sort, and they're following those things and they're very caught up in this world of I'm going to follow this formula to a T, and I'm going to make it happen, and then when it doesn't happen they get frustrated. And here's the thing: if you're following like a formula or a template that somebody else gave to you, I think it can be a great starting point. But that's all it is. It's a starting point. And more than anything, it is more of a guideline, more than follow this to a T and just, exchange this blank space for your pain point, your person's, keyword, whatever, and run with it, because that won't work. So I think if you're in a space in your business where you do need a template of some sort of like a formula to follow, don't feel like you need to follow it to a T and it needs to be perfect and you're going to do exactly what this person is doing, like this template that you bought, because I think those, you can use those kind of like a starting point and a place where honestly you can just kind of get inspiration, but then go ahead and do your own thing. Because if you're just trying to follow somebody else's template, it's going to kill your creativity. And ultimately, it's not going to work for you, because let's face it, if templates worked, like all of us would be so rich because we could just buy a template and like swap out like blank spaces for pain points and keywords and it would work, and it doesn't. So I want you to first of all, get out of, if you are somebody now who is following templates or anything like that, or somebody's framework like to the T, like that right there could be the problem. Because all of us in the business world, we all have frameworks that work, but we have to understand that what works for us, like there's more than one way to run a business. Like that's the point I'm getting to. There's more than one way to run a business, and to think that you can just like plug and play keywords here and there and like your solutions are going to be solved, like that's not the case whatsoever. Another thing is that you are posting but you're not looking at what's working and what's not working, meaning you're not looking at the data. Now if you're new around here, you may not know, but I did not used to be a data driven person. Like data like mostly scared me. I didn't know, like it was just very intimidating, like math in general, like numbers, like not my thing, if I'm being super honest. But I own a podcast management agency. And of course, with that comes a lot of data that we have to look at and things that we have to process, and looking at download numbers and looking at growth and those things like that. And what I learned is that data is your best friend and data is here to help you. So when I sit down to record an episode, I am not just going off of feelings, what feels good today, like what am I in the mood to talk about? I actually do a lot of research before I come to sit down and record an episode, because I want to look back at the episodes that have done well in my podcast and capitalize on those and make more episodes that are in the same realm, instead of me just, going off of feelings and inspiration. I want to look at the data because the numbers don't lie. So let's say you're putting out your YouTube video or your podcast episode, or maybe you're posting again on the socials of the world. You're not looking at the data. You have to look at the data and you have to become disconnected, right? Like the numbers don't mean anything about you. It's just information for you to make a really good decision based on the information in front of you. So for example, let's say you have a podcast episode. Let's say, you're looking back at last month because you're planning out your episodes for the upcoming month, okay? You have an episode that has 100 downloads, and then episode 2 has 90 downloads, episode 3 has 130 downloads, and episode 4 has 50 downloads. Well, that tells you that whatever, like episode 4, whatever you talked about inside of that episode, obviously, like the title did not work because you got below average download numbers based on the other episodes that you did. So maybe if it was a really good episode, and you didn't title it correctly, like take a look at the title and see how you can improve the title. That would be my number one hot tip that I would give you. But also, if it's something that maybe you talked about that is not something that you people are really interested in, that could be a reason why. Meaning, let's say you have a podcast and it's about productivity tips for moms, and like the 3 episodes that did well were about productivity, how to get organized at home, how to do your laundry faster, whatever. But then like the 4th episode that you put out, maybe it was like something more like how to handle tantrums for your 2-year-old. Maybe like you think it's relevant to the person listening to you, to your audience, but maybe those moms have kids that are older. Maybe they're not really interested in tantrums, or maybe they're like, I come to you because of productivity. Why are you talking to me about tantrums? So just look at the data and see what doesn't fit in, what doesn't match, and whatever the data is telling you, okay, those are doing really well, go off of it. Now, in the beginning of a business, you don't have a lot of data to go off of, right? So in the beginning, you kind of do have to kind of look at your feelings a little bit, but also not like you can look at other people in the industry and similar niches as you and see what are their top performing episodes and like YouTube videos or whatever. So you have some data that you can look at that's not yours, but based on your niche, you can kind of do some research. But do look at the data. Don't just look at, I don't know, your feelings and like, I don't know, what's vibing today. Actually look at what's working versus what's not working before you put in all this time to create this post or this episode or this video, and then it's just going to flop, So you have to be a very data-driven person to make sure that you are going to have the success. Now, another problem, and honestly, like this is probably the number one thing that I see that number one mistake that people make that they don't know that they're making, is that you're making your content, right? You're creating this amazing content, and maybe people are listening and people are engaging and like they're raving about you, but still you're not seeing results because people don't know what you do. People don't know what is the solution that you have for them. And this could be one because maybe you are talking about it, but you're focusing on the features of the solution that you offer, right? So you're focusing on like how many coaching calls you're going to get, how many modules are in your program or whatever, versus a transformation. So that right there is one reason, right? Like you're talking about it, but people have no idea what is the transformation that they're going to get and like why they need to work with you. And then the second reason why could be that you're creating this amazing content that people really love, but you're not letting people know that they can work with you at a deeper capacity, meaning you have coaching available, you have programs available, you have whatever different services available to them. So people don't know. So, they consume your content and they're like, hoorah, I'm super motivated by you, hearts everywhere. And they never work with you. And the reason why is because you never let them know that they can work with you. So you're assuming that people know because you're just assuming that because you have a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever, that people know that you have a business and they can hire you. But honestly, truly, no, people don't. Like, I think that most people in the world, right? Like people that are consuming our content, they're not in this online marketing space. They don't have online businesses. So they're coming to you as a consumer who does not know about the world of, content marketing and all those things. And they're thinking that you're getting money, I don't know, from ads or something, So people are not thinking about it. People think that you have, your podcast or YouTube channel because, you're making money from AdSense or whatever. not necessarily because you have a program or a service that you offer to them. So you need to talk about it. You need to let people know. So if you listen to any of my episodes, I always talk about something that I do in the beginning of my episodes. So in this particular episode, I let you know that I have free coaching coming up on February 21st. Go ahead and sign up. If I'm not promoting something that is like a free event or something like that, then I am letting you know that I offer coaching. So I offer business coaching, or I own a podcast management agency and I can help you launch your podcast. Or if you want my team to manage your podcast, we can do that for you. But I'm letting you know how we can work together. So it's important that you do the same and that you don't fixate on the features, and also like paint a picture that people can see, like what is the picture that you're painting for them, like help them visualize what their future is going to look like after they work with you. So you have to be very vivid about this. And this reminds me of back in my Etsy days. When I started my podcasting career, I talked a lot about Etsy because that was my background. And I always talked about making sure that you have all 10 pictures on your listing, that you're painting a picture for people, that people are able to see the transformation. And in this online space, right? Like you're not maybe selling something physical, like a product on Etsy or whatever, but you still have to be able to use storytelling to let people know, like, hey, this is what your life looks like now, but this is what life is going to look like after we work together because blah, 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 blah. This is how you're feeling now, and this is how we're going to feel after, because I have the solution for you. So paint the picture for people so people know how you help them. So don't get caught up on the features and how many coaching calls and how long the program is or how many modules there are and how many bonuses they have. Like, no, nobody cares about that. They care about the transformation, not everything else. So right now I have a huge problem and you have the solution to my problem. So paint the picture and like help me, And here's another thing too, like kind of like a bonus thing that I just thought about. We tend to think that the problems we have are very unique to us, right? So like, let's say in this productivity coach example that I used earlier, right? Like as a mom, I may think that I'm the only mom who's writing the Hot Mess Express and I don't have my life together, right? And I may come across like a podcast episode one day, and maybe this episode is about productivity, but maybe I don't even know I have a productivity issue because I'm wasting time doing something dumb. Maybe I'm even unaware. So you have to like kind of sometimes even do some sort of pre-coaching to let people know, like, hey, you're feeling like this because of this, because you're not managing your time properly or something like that. And by the way, like a lot of people are the same, and this is like what I observe and in my coaching practice or whatever, so again, we tend to think that the problems we have are very unique to us. So sometimes people don't even know that you have a service or something that can help them, right? So if I'm this mom who thinks I'm the only mom in the world who doesn't have my stuff together and I'm not productive and all of that, like I might find your content, but if you're not letting me know that I can work with you further, I'm not going to know to ask you to help me out, because I don't even know that that's a thing, that there's such a thing as a productivity coach. So don't be afraid to kind of go into some sort of pre-coaching as you're creating your content so people understand why they need you. That is super important. So I really hope that you enjoyed this episode on, showing up consistently and not seeing the results. And again, posting content online, it's not that in and of itself is not marketing. There's a lot that goes into it, right? There's SEO and things like that, which I have so many episodes on this podcast that you can go back and binge on. But there really is like so much that we have to do to make sure that the content that we're putting out is actually serving us, because you could end up just wasting a whole lot of your time if you're not thinking about these things. And putting out content for the sake of putting out content is not going to grow your business. You have to be intentional about the content that you're putting out, so people actually are reaching out to you and they want to work with you and they want to hire you. So think about those things next time you sit down to read content. All right, my love, until next time, enjoy life, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.